WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
Is now warning.
Live in the studio.
It's the Out of Bounds Show with Lowbound. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
I don't want to hear all that chit-chat stuff.
All right. Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I agree with the unnamed texter on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line, 601-885-3776. Bo, Mississippi State's a top 10 to top 15 team in Oak's first year, and a lot of baseball left. Was disappointing Saturday, but he has come out swinging in year one. Fair enough.
Oh, yeah.
It's year one. He had 60 days to put the roster together. They hit, and then they missed on a couple of spots. It happens. You know, you'd like to have a better catcher. That guy's at Texas, having an unbelievable year. And we'll see what shortstop looks like. You know, those guys are young. We'll see what it looks like in the future. You just need a little more juice on the starting pitching and a little more juice on the back end. But, you know, very few teams are like super duper complete. It's just which weekend you win 2 or 3. Right. This weekend you did not. And I agree with another unnamed texter on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line where they said, Bo, you know, you're talking about Saturday, but it was all about Friday. Fair enough. I mean, you let the guy hit the home run in the 9th inning. And what we talked about earlier was extending Ben Davis and how his production and success looks in the first inning he throws. Awesome. Second inning is really good. Third inning is not. But Parker and O'Connor know what's going on. They know what they do and don't have, and they know the matchups better than you and I. So I would think that they'll maybe not run him out for inning number 3 going forward, but who knows? Ryan McPherson did get to throw. He threw 34 pitches. You want him to throw again this weekend, next, and then you get into regional play. But Ole Miss put themselves back in position to possibly host. Mississippi State is still right there on the line, and both teams have a little work to do as we head into Ole Miss at Bama after taking the series from A&M, and Hunter Elliott was fabulous, and Mississippi State at Texas A&M, who's lost back-to-back series to Auburn and Ole Miss. That's where we are. And again, you're going to hear me talk about this. I don't understand how Southern Cal hasn't won a 1Q1 game this year, and they're 8th in RPI. They've only played 8, and they're 0-8. That's weird.
I'm going to blame that Warren guy.
Warren Nolan is...
Gotta be his fault.
Maybe he's drunk somewhere in Atlanta.
If he is, I mean, more power to him, but get this right.
Who knows? He's probably got a bunch of offshore,
Oh, man.
you know, analytics, numbers nerds doing his site, and he's just
Dude, he has
he's just
no
sipping
idea.
he's just sipping Tito's martinis somewhere.
Living looks.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, somebody's got to do it. Might as well be Warren.
Or you?
I would like to do it.
I'm surprised you don't have a site like this where kind of once you put everything in and enter it all in, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Like Warren Nolan RPI.
I got one kind of like that, but yeah.
The one where you bet on Yugoslavian horse racing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good one.
You know, today is perfect for you.
What you got?
It's National Eat What You Want Day.
Well, that's every day.
That's every day for you.
Literally every day.
That's kind of every day for Southerners.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, you're You're the Kobe Bryant of National Eat What You Want Day.
I would say that's fair. I accept that.
For example.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Have you had a bowl of cereal in the last 24 hours?
So last night it almost got bad. Actually, I had some Reese's Puffs.
Reese's Puffs,
which are fire. So I have my Reese's
sounds
Puffs,
awful, but go ahead.
but I didn't have any milk.
Oh no!
Which is, I mean, that's.
Did you DoorDash it?
No, it was late. So I figured, you know what?
I've never DoorDashed milk. Have you? I'm sure you have.
No.
Okay.
No.
Can you DoorDash milk from Kroger?
DoorDash anything.
Okay.
From anywhere.
All right. I don't know how to do it. My kids do it for me.
I think. Yes. I mean, I ran out. I was, that's no good when you're a cereal fanatic. So, but since I like it so much, I mean, it wasn't anything to it to eat it dry. So I poured it. Put it in a cup. Just eat it dry throughout the night.
Did you put some water on it?
No. Wow.
Did you let the dog lick it?
Well, unfortunately, as soon as I got done pouring it, and this is the last of it, I knocked it over with my elbow. So it spilled everywhere.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was a very, very, very tough thing to accept. It happened.
Okay.
But we recouped. We powered through. We went ahead and picked it up. We had 5-second rule.
I like the 5-second rule.
I'm not letting that go. I was so excited about that thing. And
so you just put it back in a cup and ate it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I blew it off. That's my due diligence.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
What it was.
Yeah.
I saw no other way around it.
Nice.
And I felt really
well. You were in the trenches,
essentially.
I mean, you're on your couch.
About 2:30.
It's 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't know why in the hell you're up.
Well, I mean, to eat cereal.
And you spill your cereal without any milk.
That's right.
Are you going to get milk today?
I have got to get milk today. Because if it happens again, I'll be.
So do you get milk from
Whole Foods?
Whole Foods?
No. Well.
Or do you get it from somewhere else?
I went on a big nut milk, almond milk, oat milk, stuff like that. I went on a big kick with it.
Yeah, I don't know if that. I know I went on that 12, 13 years ago.
It ain't healthier.
No.
Ain't a chance.
No. Well, especially you get the sweetened. I was
Yeah.
drinking the unsweetened, but I still think it's.
That's
we'll have to ask our nutrition coach,
Yes.
Jermaine Benoit, but I don't think almond milk's all of what it claims.
No, it's not. But
if you get the unsweetened with that super sweet crappy cereal,
That's
that
right.
that may be at least a little bit better than you getting the sweetened almond milk.
Yeah, right.
With the Reese's Puffs or whatever the hell you're talking about.
That's right.
You were doing.
You just gotta pick your battles.
What's your favorite cereal? Number one.
I mean, I probably have to go Cinnamon Toast Crunch just out of respect for it.
Okay, out of respect for it.
Yeah, you gotta,
I didn't know that we needed to respect Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Well, you need to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a.
So
yeah.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch is the UCLA of college baseball this year.
Absolutely.
To date.
Of cereal.
Okay.
For sure.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. All right.
Oof. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good ones though. I mean, obviously. I mean, I have when I go and I buy cereal, I buy 3 or 4 boxes, obviously, at a time. I don't want to discriminate against my cereals.
Okay.
So I got to, all of them got to get some love.
So you get a couple of different kinds.
Got to. Well, I mean, I got my routine.
What is that?
I gotta have my Reese's Puffs. Gotta have Cinnamon Toast Crunch, obviously, and then we got to have probably some Fruity Pebbles or Tricks.
Okay. All right, here's what I'm going to go with. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by the Bacon Appetizer and a thick, mouth-watering ribeye, medium rare, Kessler Prime in the Renaissance.
That sounds pretty good.
KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Good morning. Welcome in. We would love to hear from you. Ole Miss took 2 of 3 this weekend. Mississippi State lost 2 of 3, but it was the way they lost in game 3. Both teams going on the road, still in position to host. And then, sad but celebratory, the legendary Hall of Fame manager from the Atlanta Braves, Bobby Cox, passed away. 14 straight division titles, World Series champ. He's a Hall of Famer, and he coached a bunch of them that are in Cooperstown. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
How many players were in his dugout that have gone on to punch their ticket to the Baseball Hall of Fame? This is a good question.
I don't want to hear all that chit chat stuff.
All right, we'll get into this. Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The new Out of Bounds hats are on whiskey61.com. You can check them out. They look great. So do the Whiskey 61 hats. We've got some great looking merch. Whiskey61.com. The new Out of Bounds hats are there. They look great. Jackson did a lot of stuff to the site over the weekend. Whiskey61.com. Check out the Out of Bounds and Whiskey 61 hats. That lady that's wearing the hats, she's gorgeous. I mean, that's how we roll at Out of Bounds and Whiskey 61. It was a hell of a Out of Bounds Whiskey 61 week last week. We had a good time. Philip M. Steakhouse, Mudbugs Live Remote, travel, all kinds of fun. I got to figure out what was in those egg rolls. That was the Farm Bureau Life guys. All right. And so they went through it with me, but I didn't put it in my phone. That may have been the best egg roll I've ever had in my life. The culinary pop from they've got smokers and grills, and all these 18 teams up at Pearl River Resort and competing and raising money for the Mississippi Food Network. But those egg rolls were amazing. I got to figure out, I know Gouda was in there, but I got to figure out what else was in there. Some smoked Gouda was in there. I have to figure out what else was there. They made them there and dropped them there.
Nice.
And when they came out, I mean, they were hot and beautiful and yummy. And I wish I had one right now. But I'll just call it the Farm Bureau egg roll.
That's a good way.
Farm Bureau Life.
Nice.
That's the life side of the deal. Egg roll. But it was delicious. I'm glad they played the Azaleas in the Oaks Championship Golf Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. So somebody asked me on the text line, hey, Bo, it's National Eat What You Want Day. What is it? What's your go-to? So I would say my go-to, if I can just eat anything I want, is some of my favorite places that have nachos. I love nachos. I love the whole deal where you get the different toppings, you've got the chips, you can set it up like you want. Now, I mean, I love it when we make them at home because they're clean nachos, but I love nachos at restaurants. And like I was telling y'all earlier, Sandra and the Mudbugs team, when I was leaving the remote on Friday, they dropped some pulled pork nachos on me with jalapenos. Fantastic. Hell yeah, I love a good cheese. I mean, I eat burgers all the time. In fact, Wendy I don't remember what night it was. Somebody asked if I was in Starkville. I did not go to the games. I spent the weekend at the lake just because of a lot of travel coming up, and I need to sleep in my own bed. One night, Wendy cooked a burger and put a fried egg on top.
Now we're talking.
Phenomenal.
Love that.
And then I got out the red pepper flakes, and it was beautiful. She also made clean homemade bread over the weekend, Jermaine's recipe, which was fabulous. So, yeah, but National Eat What You Want Day, I'm all about some pimento cheese fritters from Martin's in Livingston. I'm all about some nachos from my favorite local places. I absolutely love a good cheeseburger. I mean, it's not like I just eat lettuce.
Right.
Nothing could be further. I mean, I'll go smash some pasta or whatever. Now, I don't feel like I need to overeat every time I eat.
No.
But what?
As a matter of fact, I've been hosting a Colombian guy recently.
Of course you have.
Our driver. But, we went and ate some food, and he said, I don't understand why you Americans have to eat so much food.
Exactly.
He said, I could eat, in Colombia, this feeds all four.
Exactly.
And I was like, well, okay.
It's a portion control.
Yeah.
Asians are so smart, they eat to 80% full.
Right.
It's why when you look at their fit.
It just seems.
We believe that we got to go 130%.
Well.
He's right.
He's always
Your Colombian
right.
friend is right. Plus they eat clean
food,
pasta, clean rice, clean da-da-da. Anyway, I love nachos. I love building up nachos. I don't need sour cream on them, but I love the 9,000 toppings, whether it's protein or other things, from black olives to jalapenos to, Rotel and everything else that you can do with nachos. So it's National Eat What You Want Day.
Love it.
We're in the South, so y'all are going to do that anyway. I didn't have to open the door or open the gate for y'all.
No, dog.
And so there we go. Brad's on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line. He says, have you had the Cinnamon Toast Crunch dipped cone at Dairy Queen?
What? There's a who?
I haven't. But I stopped by Dairy Queen on Lakeland Drive
Sheesh.
last week and got a cheeseburger with extra pickles. So for those of you who give me a hard time. And it was hot and good. It was good. Now, I didn't know. I'm not going to eat a Cinnamon Toast Crunch dipped cone at Dairy Queen. But once or twice a year, I'll get a chocolate sundae.
Sign me up.
I know. I knew you were like,
I can't
now
do it.
you may be done.
I'm
This
done.
may be your new thing because it's out by Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, Dogwood, Flowwood, and there's no telling where the hell this will go for you.
They found a way to keep me in the doors now. They added with these new additions. It's hard to leave.
It's hard to leave.
They got these tacos now.
I saw Burgers,
They're
Blues,
black.
Barbecue, Dogwood, Flowwood
God.
drop the taco deal.
Heat.
And they've got a green space now where you can eat outside and it's fat.
do.
Well, they already had a covered space off their bar, which is really cool.
Right.
Now Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, B3, and Dogwood, Flowwood has the green space.
That's right.
All right, now I got a question on Bobby Cox. So, yeah, I'm like so many of you. I grew up as a TBS kid. I grew up obsessed with Dale Murphy. My parents, my dad took me to Fulton County Stadium when I was 10 years old. I wore my baseball uniform.
Nice.
I wore my all-star baseball uniform. I was a dork. I wore sweatbands, and I wore my glove. I brought my glove to the game.
Yeah.
When Dale Murphy ran out of the dugout, you could have taken me right there. I thought God ran out of the dugout. Number 3.
Same guy.
Okay? And then we all watched it. Then they got really, really good. Bobby Cox became the manager. Look, before the Atlanta Braves became the SEC team of Major League Baseball, before every kid in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Georgia wore a Braves hat, before Turner Field was packed with dudes like Chipper, hunting season and SEC football in the same breath, there was one guy who changed everything. Bobby Cox. Or 2, Ted Turner. And they both pass away in the same week.
Man.
But for us in the South that didn't really have a lot of pro sports or good pro sports, the Saints wouldn't become good until post-Katrina.
That's right.
For the Braves to have a 2-time NLMB, and this is before Hank Henry Aaron, who was an amazing presence and impact on Atlanta and the Braves too, okay? But as we got to consume more of sports and TBS, okay, you had Ted Turner and Bobby Cox, and they won.
Yeah.
It was a pro team who started winning in 1991, and all they did was win.
Kept winning.
And then they had all these Hall of Famers, Maddox Hall of Fame, Smoltz Hall of Fame, Glavine Hall of Fame, Chipper Hall of Fame, Andrew Jones Hall of Fame. I mean, think about all the guys through Bobby Cox and through the dugout of the Braves that have gone on to Cooperstown. Okay?
Big old number.
Was Bobby Cox the most important figure in the history of Atlanta sports?
Ooh.
Text line 601-885-3776. Bill Shanks, Atlanta Braves Insider, coming up next on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line.
I don't want to hear all that chit chat stuff.
Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The official bourbon of the Out of Bounds Show, Elijah Craig Bourbon. Award-winning Elijah Craig Bourbon. The father of bourbon, Elijah Craig. It is fantastic. Try the small batch today. They've also got the 18-year in the toasted barrel. Here's to an Elijah Craig old-fashioned and a ribeye tonight. That's a winning combination. We're ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We welcome in our friend Bill Shanks, all things Georgia sports. We usually bring Bill on for Georgia football, right? And even back in the Mark Richt years when they couldn't get over the hump. And then Kirby comes in and all he does is win and knocks down a couple of national championships. But I, like so many of you, I'm in my early 50s, and I grew up as a TBS kid. We got it in 1980 or 81, and I became obsessed with Dale Murphy early. And then my dad took me over to Fulton County in 83 or something, and 10 years old, wore my baseball uniform. I thought I would never see anything like it in my life. And fast forward, Bobby Cox, general manager, then manager, 14 division titles, all the great players, World Series and all that. Big part of our life, we had the AA affiliate Braves, so we had Fran Coor and all those guys come through. So it's a big tie for almost everybody in the Southeast. The Braves are your team. And they were the first pro team to win and win big, Jackson, and win consistently. And Ted Turner and Bobby Cox passing away in the same week. Turner with his brilliance through TBS and owning the team, and Bobby Cox was one of the best managers of all time, Hall of Famer. So we thought we'd bring in Bill Shanks, Atlanta Braves insider, on the Out of Bounds Show. Bill, how long did you work with the Braves?
Well, I've never worked for the Braves. I've covered the team forever. I mean, I've covered them since I was in college, for that matter. But I mean,
Nice.
I was first in the press box when I was a teenage sports talk show host 40 years ago. So I mean, I've just been in. I mean, I've never worked for them. I was their post game host on their radio network for 1 year, but I've written a book about them. I did a TV show. I did a TV show with them, but I didn't work for them. But for 3 years, I did a minor league TV show called The Brave Show. We spent a lot of time in research making sure that name was correct. But we did a show for 3 years, and so I've covered them forever, followed them forever. I've got a few years on you, so I'm not a TBS kid. I'm a WTCG kid. It goes back a little bit further when they were actually on WTCG Channel 17, and we got our cable in 1978 in my hometown of Waycross, Georgia, and that happened to be the first year of Bobby Cox and Dale Murphy, so it was a pretty good year.
Man. We've had, you've been connected to these guys forever. We've had Murph on the show several times. It's like chill bumps for me. We've also had Chipper and Smoltz on, which is, and Smoltz he's probably top 5 interview of all time in 23 years. Just, I don't know if it was the day or what, but it went where you wanted to go, and he was engaging and so on. But let's talk, Bobby. So when was the first time? Sounds like when you were a kid or high school or what. When was the first time you met Bobby Cox?
Well, I mean, I was in the clubhouse in 1991 when they won the division. I was there a little bit in those years of '93. I was there. So as far as meeting him, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he probably recognized my face a pretty good amount in the mid '90s, and then, I did a sit down interview with him probably in 2000. Well, I did an event in 2005 with him, and then one in 2006, and then a sit down interview for a magazine article in 2007 that he was nice enough to sit down with me. So, I mean, I've been around him a lot, and I tell you, the saddest part for me personally, just being selfish, is 3 weeks before his stroke, Bo, I was in Florida at spring training Bobby was awful with names. Okay, he would have to be. He knew me, and sometimes he would say my name, and I've got a story on Twitter about when he really shocked me one time. But then sometimes he would know me and had no clue what my name was. He was just, I mean, he used to have to prompt him. And I'm not very good on names either. So I mean, he just could be bad on names. But like 3 weeks before his stroke, we were in the dugout, and he said, "Come here, Bill, let's talk." And I'm like, "Oh my God, he just said that my name, you know." And I mean, he did it one time in New York. Again, a story that was kind of dear to my heart, but it's like, oh man, Bobby's going to like have conversations with me and say my name and so forth. And then he had a stroke. And so it's like, daggum. But I used to hate him. I used to hate Bob. I used to have people when I started writing articles when I was a teenager in my hometown, again, for the local paper. And I would just blister Bobby Cox. I used to have people come up to me in the grocery store. "You got to lay off my man, Bobby Cox. You got to lay off him. He's not that bad. What are you doing?" And I tell you, about probably 25 years ago, I wrote a book about the Braves, and I started interviewing the players, and they started to explain what we all know about now, about how he was and how they loved him and how they revered him. And this is not when he was at the end of his tenure. I mean, he was still kind of in the middle of his tenure for the Braves. And they started talking about, "Oh no, you have no clue. You don't understand." And I changed. And then I started being around him. Then I started seeing close up what they were talking about, and seeing the man, and seeing more than was just on the field, and I understood everything about it. And then, you know, age gives you a little logic sometimes, and I started to understand more about the things he did, and I revere the man and what he did as general manager. Because I've said on Twitter, I was saying this last week when Ted died, I said the decision that Ted Turner made to turn to Bobby Cox to be the general manager is the most important decision in the 60-year history of this franchise. Yeah. Because Bobby made the changes that set the stage for what happened in 1991, and it's been going on for the last 35 years. But he was a great man. He was loved by so many. He was baseball. I don't know how good he was as a husband or father, or once he got home from the ballpark. And, you know, you can criticize him for that or whatever. But when that man went to the ballpark and put his cleats on, that was where he needed to be.
Yeah. Bill Shanks has been covering Georgia sports and the Braves for several decades. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. All right, you referenced a story, and I read it yesterday on Twitter that you shared. I want you to share it with our listeners. So you're in Shea Stadium, which is the Mets Stadium, and you're talking to a player, and you feel like Bobby Cox could yell at you. Walk us through what happened.
Well, let's just say the game time was 7:05. First pitch at 7:05. It was 6:52 or something like that. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. I'm sitting here talking to the player. I don't even know who it was. You know, I mean, I knew a lot of the minor leaguers because I did that minor league TV show, and I wrote a book, and I did a lot of coverage of the minor leaguers. So when those baby Braves came up in 2005 from Mississippi, by the way, that's right. I knew all of them, and so I think it was Blaine Boyer, but let's just say it was Blaine Boyer. I'm sitting there talking to him, and you know, whoever it was, I couldn't shut him up. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. I'm seeing them get ready for the national anthem. I'm seeing all this, and I'm like, I'm telling myself in my mind, you got to stop this conversation and get the hell out of there. Media is supposed to be out of the dugout by a certain time, so all of a sudden, peripheral vision, here comes Bobby from my left side, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be dead. They're never going to let me in here again. And all of a sudden, I looked up, and he said, "Hey, Shanksy," and you know, it just, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was going to hit me like that. But I mean, that was, he gave me a nickname. He was so, he gave everybody a nickname. And for him to give me a nickname, some dumb reporter who wasn't supposed to be in his dugout, it was just, I mean, a story for a lifetime, something I'll never forget. And again, it was so weird because I'm telling you, Bobby, it was like a part of his brain with names. You know, he did that, and so he knew me. You know, I'm not saying he didn't know me. he knew me every time he saw me. I was in, countless, hundreds probably of post-game scrums with the other reporters.
Sure.
But, as far as him saying, "Hey, Bill Shanks, how are you doing?" That was hit or miss, But that particular day, I mean, all of a sudden, here he is, and he's known for sitting in that dugout. How many times did we hear him over TBS and him saying, "Come on, Chip, let's go, Chip. Come on, Roachy. Come on, Smoltzy. Come on, Tommy." I mean, all the nicknames, Ronnie Gant, DJ. I mean, that's all he did was encourage you from the dugout with that, left arm on top of the railing and be sitting there screaming out his nicknames. And all of a sudden, when I thought I was going to get blessed out and felt like I was Joe West, an umpire, for being in the dugout, all of a sudden he gives me a nickname, and it was quite a memory.
Bill Shanks, been covering the Braves for a long time. Great story there of Bobby Cox right before the game in Shea Stadium. You're listening to Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. What do you think made him – look, you know it better than I do because you've been covering the Atlanta Braves for a long time. I mean, it is a marathon as far as spring training, the season, and then they lived in the postseason. So it's a long, long time of ups and downs and success and failure every season in baseball. What made him so successful as an MLB manager, Bill?
Respect for his players. He learned from a manager by the name of Ralph Houck, who was the Yankees manager in the 1960s and in the late 60s when Bobby made his debut for New York, when they weren't very good, by the way. And Ralph Houck was this old gruff manager, and oh my God, he loved him as much as Brian Snitker loves Bobby Cox. Bobby Cox loved Ralph Houck. I mean, that was his guy. And some of the same. If you go Google Ralph Houck, you'll hear and read some of the same stories from his players that they said about Bobby. That he knew that it was not a sprint. It was a long 6-month ordeal that you have to get through. You have to survive. It's a survival thing. It's getting through Monday before you worry about Tuesday.
That's right.
And I let me tell you another story. And
yes,
I've got to. So I'm in the. I might get emotional about this one too. It ain't got nothing to do with me, but it tells you about what this man was. I'm in the dugout. I mean, in the clubhouse at spring training one year, and a player by the name of Tyler Yates, his brother now is Kirby Yates, and he's in the big leagues and pitched for the Braves a couple of years ago. Tyler was in the clubhouse, and it was spring training, and he got shelled. Okay, he was trying to make the team, and for some reason, I'm in the clubhouse, and we weren't talking to Tyler, but I was kind of off the side. But I watched Bobby Cox come in waddling with his cleats on, and he saw that Tyler was kind of despondent over there. And he walked over to him and he said, "The wind was kind of playing havoc with you today, wasn't it?" And Tyler Yates looked up, and you could see this relief on his face that his manager was on his side and was not going to release him because he had a bad day in spring training. I mean, it was one of those scenes. It was almost like a Norman Rockwell painting in a way. Tyler had his head between his legs, down, upset. He was trying to win a job. You can't have many performances like that in spring training to win a job. And Bobby, with the, kind of almost chuckled, but his comments, you could tell it was palatable. His comments to Tyler Yates just gave him a sense of relief that, hey man, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay today. You're not going to be put on a bus to Cleveland because you had a bad day. And in his own little way, and he did that. I've told that story to others in the organization, and they were like, "Yeah, he did that all the time." That was who Bobby was. He would just have the personal touch to be able to relate to players, to know. I mean, he had trouble in the major leagues. He wasn't that good. He had knee problems. He had to retire early at 30. So sometimes those players who have the troubles and struggles are are better to know what players go through, you
Yeah.
know? And so, but I can see right now him in a Braves jacket with a cup of coffee in his hand in the clubhouse and telling that boy, basically, everything's going to be okay.
Wow. Bill Shanks has been covering the Braves for a long time. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show. He does sports talk radio among other things in Macon, Georgia. And he got to cover the Braves for a long time. And he joins us on the Out of Bounds show, sharing amazing Bobby Cox Hall of Famer stories. Bill, in my intro, you know this. We're close to the same age. I mean, in the Southeast, we didn't have much pro sports, and it wasn't that good. The Saints weren't good till Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Falcons have been hit, have been hit and miss for a long time. And so the Braves winning big and winning consistently kind of changed the game for the Southeast. Did you even feel that being right there on top of it in Georgia, Bill?
Absolutely. Well, the 1991 season, which, I mean, look, I was in college, but I went over there. Again, I was learning how to be a reporter. I mean, even though I'd done it my whole life up to that point. I mean, I wanted to be in broadcasting since I was out of the womb. Started writing and talking on radio whenever I could, whenever they would legally allow me to do it. I mean, 1991, I was in college, and I basically went over there to cover the games to the college station to learn how to be a reporter. And that year was so magical. Bobby said time and time again, he said 1995 was great. It was the World Series. We finally did it, but there will never be another 1991. Never.
Right.
And you could just, again, palatable of telling how everything changed in that year because of the worst or first year. And it was incredible. It was just amazing. And then, you realize that the core of that team was unbelievable. I mean, I remember having a conversation with Chipper Jones' dad in like 1992 when he was in Double-A. The Braves already won their first division title that year before, and we were like, Chipper's dad and I were like going over, well, Chipper's going to come up and do this, and they got Justice, they got Gant, they got Klesko coming, they got Javi Lopez, and it's like, my God, the amount of talent here. And they hadn't had that. I mean, first 20 years, when Bobby came in as the GM, the first 20 years of the franchise, they had 7 winning seasons. And then they had five more losing seasons after that because they were rebuilding. But when it all changed in 1991, and I still think, even though 1991 was unbelievable, the 1993 team, after they got Fred McGriff, I think they went 41-17 after they got Freddie, and that stadium was 50,000 every night. I mean, there was not a seat in that house after Fred McGriff came, after the fire stopped, and I mean, there was not a seat in that house. It was packed to the gills every night. Then, of course, the strike happened, and then a quarter of the people were pissed off. But still, I mean, it changed the entire landscape. And that look, you and I are in our 50s. People who are in their 30s and younger and did not experience what we're talking about here, you need to understand. Well, they can't comprehend what the Braves used to be. There's no comprehension. I don't even know. You can talk about the Saints with their fans, where they have the bags on their heads, or any type of extreme bad team now. It's hard to describe. Go back. There's 100 games on YouTube of Braves games on TBS from the 1980s. Go look at the opening shot when they would take the center field shot and there would be 500 people in the stands.
Yeah.
That's what it used to be. And Bobby changed all that, and he made that team a winner. When John Schultz came in, obviously he put the icing on the cake. He got the defense in. He brought Terry and Sid Bream and Otis Nixon and made those changes. And Paul Snyder, the legendary scouting director, told me when I was writing my book, he said, when Schultz came in, we knew what we were doing, but he taught us how to win. That was the one thing they didn't know how to do because they hadn't done it.
Right.
They hadn't won. And John had came in from Kansas City where they had won a World Series. They'd been consistent as hell. And he taught them how to win. And the combination of John Schultz and Bobby Cox, I mean, you'll never find another. I interviewed one time for my book I interviewed a general manager by the name of Bill LaJoie, who was the general manager of the Detroit Tigers in 1984. And so he put that team together when they won the World Series, and they started the season 35-5. It was one of the best years, probably in my lifetime, of any team that I've seen. His manager was Sparky Anderson, and I interviewed him about because he had that same kind of combination with Sparky, who of course is legendary, like Bobby, and he talked about John Schultz and Bobby Cox, and he said that combination and Bobby's awareness of what John's job was, because he had just left that job. Mm-hmm. He had just been a general manager, so nobody would have known better than Bobby Cox what John Schultz was to do as the GM than Bobby, because he had just done that for 5 years. And that combination of those two people it was magical. And everything that they did was magical for a certain amount of years. I mean, it's like they couldn't – I remember writing a column like in 2001 or 2, and I'm like, well, the Braves won the division. That's what they do. Because that's what they did every year. They won the division, and they got in the playoffs.
Unbelievable. Bill Shanks on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. That was great, man. I bet now, I've only got a minute or two, but now you realize how fortunate you were to cover them on a yearly basis, right?
No, I mean, I'm incredibly blessed. I was proud to know him, and yes, to be there, even as a stupid reporter, and to see it firsthand and to experience it and to be as close as I was. I mean, we knew it was coming. He's been in horrible shape. He needed to go. He was not Bobby Cox anymore, and it was sad. It was awful, but still knowing that he is gone and looking back on these memories for me, who have personal memories with him and saw so much behind the scenes. And I mean, there ain't many people who are going to tell you a story who won't get emotional about this man.
Yeah, Bill, that was beautiful. We thank you, and I can't thank you enough for coming on this morning.
You're welcome. It's always great to be on with you, Bo. Thank you.
Bill Shanks covered the Atlanta Braves for 30-plus years on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, paying tribute to Hall of Fame manager and GM Bobby Cox with the Atlanta Braves. That was beautiful. Oh, my gosh. And we're going to have Ben Ingram on a little bit later, Tim Brando, all these guys that were tied in one way, shape, or form. Braves, TBS, Ted Turner, Bobby Cox passed away in the same week. The driving force behind America's team, and definitely the team of the SEC in the Southeast, where we didn't have much pro sports and didn't have any good pro sports, and all they did was win. Look at all the Hall of Famers that went on to Cooperstown that were under Bobby and that were in that dugout. Good morning. Welcome in. We're live in the Bank Plus studio.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
Is now warning.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
Hey, we are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I'm your host, Bo Bounds, Straight Funk with me. Celebrating the life and career of the legendary Hall of Fame Atlanta Brave GM and manager, Bobby Cox, who, along with other people, turned the Braves into a winner. They were a loser. And they couldn't win. Definitely couldn't win consistently. And Bobby Cox, as general manager, then manager, and John Sherholtz, and of course Ted Turner with TBS, the driving force behind the Braves being a winner. And still winning today. And have won a World Series in the last few years, which is super cool. And as much success as the Saints have had, and I love it, the Braves have been even more successful. But we didn't have a lot of pro sports, and what pro sports we had didn't win. Braves, Falcons, Saints, and then all of a sudden the Braves won, and all they did was win. And so we're remembering Bobby Cox, TBS. What's cool is rural Mississippi people like you and I, we got to watch the Braves. We got to watch Murphy, and then Bobby Cox, and then all the guys that we talk about, whoever your favorite one was, Maddox or Chipper or Andrew or Smoltzy, and all the guys in between. Then you think about the guys that were, Fred McGriff was big time. He had already had a hell of a career before he got to Atlanta. Unbelievable. And then you throw in, like he was talking about, Otis Nixon, Terry Pendleton, David Justice, Sid Bream with that, Sid Bream with the slide. It's just a great time to reminisce and to get nostalgic and to celebrate. A bunch of people built it into a consistent. It's hard to win in pro sports. Hard to win consistently in high school sports, college sports. It's damn hard to win 14 straight division titles and a World Series in Major League Baseball and keep up everybody somewhat happy to happy. The Dancing Rabbit Golf text line is 601-885-3776. See, the Braves weren't just Atlanta's team. They were Mississippi's team, Alabama's team, Arkansas's team, North Louisiana's team, Tennessee, especially East Tennessee's team, South Carolina's team. South Carolina doesn't have MLB, okay? And so all of us tried to get there, and I've shared this as a kid, walking into Fulton County Stadium, like many things did, like you, changed my life. Going over there to watch Dominique and Spud Webb and Doc Rivers play in the Omni. That was a big deal. It's not as big a deal today, although it's still super fun to go to any sporting event. But when you're in the rustic and rural South in the 80s and you get to go to the Omni and watch Dominique, or you get to go to Fulton County and watch Dale Murphy, it didn't get any better. Those were stars. Dominique and Dale were stars. At that time in 1983, the Saints didn't have a star. And, Murph went MVP. And Dominique is, in the Hall. Well, yeah, and known as one of the most prolific scorers in the history of the NBA. And so that's why, Bobby Cox and Ted Turner passing away in 1 week. And y'all think of you watch the games with your dad, your friends, your granddad, your mom, your relatives. 4th of July's in the South, 1981, 83, 85, 87. You're having fun. You're eating watermelon. You got ribs on the grill. You're watching the Braves, 7:05. So that's pretty damn cool that we got to experience Bobby Cox, Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, and all the guys. And then Chipper Jones and Smoltz and those guys talking about Bobby Cox is incredible. Do you have Dale Murphy? All right. So Dale Murphy was a Brave, and then he went on to become a Philly. And you know, when you hit somebody, you got to, when somebody gets hit on your team, a lot of times you hit the first person up the next half inning or inning. All right. This is Dale Murphy talking about when he was at the Phillies and facing Tom Glavine.
To highlight the respect you had as the Braves, one of my favorite stories is when you were a Philly and Tom Glavine, Glavine had to hit you.
Yeah.
And Glavine was like, man, I am not hitting Dale Murphy.
Well,
So you got to.
It was one of those situations, baseball's,
Yep.
especially at that level, gets a little weird sometimes, and guys do get hit. So Roger McDowell, who ended up being a pitching coach for the Braves for a long time, Bobby loved Roger. But at that time, Roger hit Otis. And Bobby was mad. And he doesn't like his guys getting hit. He goes, that's it. We're hitting the first guy up.
And it's you.
And Glav walks down to the lineup. And he goes, Bobby, it's Murph. And Bobby goes, I don't care who it is. We're hitting. And then it was a mess. He didn't want to hit me.
Yeah, he missed you like twice. And the one that hit you.
You can go on YouTube and watch it. I'm back in. I'm out of the batter's box before out of the camera zone too. It was a weird thing in baseball, but you know, I love Bobby. He's just a bulldog.
All right, so if you watch it, that was great audio. That was Dale Murphy, and he was on the round table, and they're talking about Bobby Cox. Y'all heard the deal. But if you watch it, that's true. Dale Murphy. I mean, they know what's going. You can tell Glavine could hit him. He doesn't. He does it again. He does it again, and eventually, you're right. Dale Murphy is out of the picture. Yeah, I mean, Dale's like, look, I've been in the league for, by then, I don't know what it was, 17 years or whatever. And I'm over this. I know this is my last, I don't know if it was Dale's last year or next to last year. And Glavine's uncomfortable because, and think about it, Tom Glavine is a competitive SOB. Okay? And yet, he couldn't bring himself to hit Dale Murphy. Murphy was revered because not only was he a great player, he was such just a wonderful, good person. But it's funny that he just couldn't bring himself to do it. I bet Bobby Cox, because you can't see Cox in the dugout, I bet he was going crazy. Why are you not hitting him? I mean, it was obvious Glavine was just brushing him off the plate. And then by the end, Murph's like in the other dugout trying to have the at-bat. By the way, I sat behind John Sherholtz for a few games at the SEC baseball tournament in 2001. His son played for Auburn. Like, that was a big deal for Sherholtz to, I mean, it's not that far flying, obviously, from Atlanta to Birmingham. But he was, I think his son may have played short or second. GM at that time. Long-time GM. Anyway, that's a funny story. Glavine's like, I don't really want to hit Murphy. I know what we're supposed to do, and I love Bobby Cox, and he's my manager, and he's the dude. I don't want to do this. The Dancing Rabbit Golf text line is 601-885-3776. We would love for you to share either Bobby Cox or Atlanta Braves story with us, your favorite, as you reminisce. 601-885-3776, powered by Championship Golf at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club on the property of Pearl River Resort. All right. Good show today. We talked, it was a good weekend for Ole Miss baseball. Rough weekend for Mississippi State baseball. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Not all is lost. The texts this morning are entertaining for me on Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, because Mississippi State's 38-14. 38-14. If you looked at my text line, you would think they're 20-34. But I also like the passion. Wish you were that driven and passionate about the football side. You still have people posting on Gene's page and Six Pack every excuse you can think of for Selman and Levy's experiment in football. You're going to have $100 million in the whole thing if you count this year, the last 3 years, if you count, roster payments, and you've hired 9,000 people in football to try to make this thing work, and maybe it will. Maybe it gets to 6 or 7. But as far as baseball, you've got a proven coach who has lived in Omaha, and it's year one. And look, you went after the right guy at catcher. You lost him to the Longhorns. He's awesome. So you haven't been good at catch. I mean, that you'd probably already be hosting. I mean, if you catch the ball at Southern Miss, it's over. And if you catch the ball against UCLA, I mean, you've got to win against UCLA on it. I mean, it's like I'm not asking for like, oh my God, you had to have a 3-run homer and trying to but you and it's really cost you a few games. You'd be probably done in. Shortstop, you've been going back and forth. Trying to figure things out at first base. Starting pitching, once you lost McPherson's been up and down, other than Tomas. And the back end's kind of, you don't know what you're going to get day to day. It's still a good team. Far from dominant, far from elite. We've been saying that. You wanted them to be. That's okay. Sometimes we don't get what we want in year one or whenever, but still think O'Connor did a good job retaining players and adding a couple. I mean, Tomas has been a hell of a piece to add, right? And to retain the guys that he did. So, yeah, I mean, up the middle, so to speak, catcher, shortstop, and maybe some of us, maybe the fan base is going a little too overboard on this, but maybe there is something to it. Maybe this isn't all of it, but, do you have that damn alpha dog throw down in the street type dude? Interesting what Bill Shanks, Atlanta Braves insider, told us 30 minutes ago on the show, talking about Bobby Cox and how all of us as fans, we want to celebrate the championship team of our team. And we believe that that's the team far and away better than all the other teams, blah, blah, blah. Well, I thought Bill Shanks made a great point that Bobby Cox always wanted to remind people that it was the 91 team that was magical, that was, drove themselves to the playoffs and started, and they're just as, they should be celebrated just as much. Same thing goes for you remember Krzyzewski with Duke? That's all he'll talk about is his 85 team. They didn't win it. They went to the national championship game and lost. But what did it do? Set up Duke to continue to build to eventually win it in 91 and 92 for the first time, right? Or first time under Coach K. And that takes me to Bianco and Mississippi State baseball. Mississippi State baseball had to have the Jake Mangum 2018-2019 teams that advanced to the College World Series and advanced in the College World Series to give you the 2021 team. Ole Miss had to have those epic super regionals where they lost, but their teams shouldn't be looked at as losers.
Right.
You went to the super regional, only 16 teams standing, and a lot of those games went to game 3, and they were heartbreaking. But Bianco will tell you years from now, or maybe now with a cold beer, they set it up over and over and over and over again. So when you think about how Bobby Cox says, no, I want you to talk about the 1991 team. Yeah, the 95 World Series was great. I think people look at that in business too. Well, we landed this account, or we did this, or we got into this. People talk about what it meant 5 years later, but that was the thing that happened. And so, we could argue that the Saints with Peyton and Breeze, that their best team didn't win it.
Fair.
But they won it. But I'm sure Drew and Sean with the cold beer will tell you, man, what about the first year going to the NFC Championship game, playing in ice cold Chicago against the Chicago Bears? The San Francisco game out at San Fran, the NFC Championship game against the Rams, the Minnesota. Those are still incredible teams. The Minnesota Miracle. Those are still incredible teams. So I thought that was interesting, and I was thinking about, like, my point is, O'Connor, it's year one. He had to put everything together on the fly.
Yeah.
They got a good team. You're still ranked 12th in RPI and 38 and 14, but y'all are losing your minds, which is also good,
right,
in a way. So we'll see.
It means you want more, you expect more, right?
I did not. That's right. That's exactly right. There needs to be that kind of drive and so on in football. Nobody should be okay with 1-15.
No.
And there is no excuse. It's not NIL. No. It's not NIL.
No.
It's not NIL.
No.
Okay. It's the ability to understand your first 3 weeks on the job, to go all in on NIL and not a high school class, which Levy should have had some guidance from his AD. And you didn't even spend all the money you had. And the ability to understand. I mean, Levy was the guy the whole time, so should have been better prepared to staff and things like that. But let's go to the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line. KW says, did y'all see running back Hardy was shot at a concert in Memphis and underwent surgery? If you're talking about Hardy at Missouri, who played here in the state of Mississippi, was with Lon Monroe or whoever it was, and then Drinkwitz picked him up, and he ran for over 300 yards against Mississippi State last year. I did not see that. I hope he's okay. I think it's Ahmad Hardy. He is a talented, will you look that up, Jackson? He is a talented kid. In fact, there was a debate over the weekend, who's better, Lacey or Hardy?
Concert in Mississippi, yeah.
Is he okay?
He's okay. He's in stable condition.
Okay. Well, God, I'm glad he's stable.
Yeah.
Two, I hope after that, first and foremost, he's okay. And then football career rise, I hope it's not an injury that affects him on the field. I hope he can be back in a couple of months or a few weeks or whatever it is. Good Lord have mercy. Is it the same Hardy who played at Mizzou? Okay. Well, he ran for 3. He had a great year last year. And we talked about him. We all watched the game, and he ran for like 17 yards a carry, which is what people do against a Coleman Hutzler defense. I mean, Cam Scatterbu should send $1 million to Coleman Hutzler, thanking him for allowing him to run the same play for 250 yards in year one of the Coleman Hutzler disaster. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're brought to you by Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. Breakfast and lunch, and it is delicious. Grab and go, or you can eat there. The Market Cafe is inside Fleetway Market in Gluckstadt.
I don't want to hear all that chit chat stuff.
Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The official bourbon of the Out of Bounds Show, Elijah Craig Bourbon. Award-winning Elijah Craig Bourbon. The father of bourbon, Elijah Craig. It is fantastic. Try the small batch today. They've also got the 18-year in the toasted barrel. Here's to an Elijah Craig old-fashioned and a ribeye tonight. That's a winning combination. We're ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We welcome in our friend Bill Shanks, all things Georgia sports. We usually bring Bill on for Georgia football, right? And even back in the Mark Richt years when they couldn't get over the hump. And then Kirby comes in and all he does is win and knocks down a couple of national championships. But I, like so many of you, I'm in my early 50s, and I grew up as a TBS kid. We got it in 1980 or 81, and I became obsessed with Dale Murphy early. And then my dad took me over to Fulton County in 83 or something, and 10 years old, wore my baseball uniform. I thought I would never see anything like it in my life. And fast forward, Bobby Cox, general manager, then manager, 14 division titles, all the great players, World Series and all that. Big part of our life, we had the AA affiliate Braves, so we had Fran Coor and all those guys come through. So it's a big tie for almost everybody in the Southeast. The Braves are your team. And they were the first pro team to win and win big, Jackson, and win consistently. And Ted Turner and Bobby Cox passing away in the same week. Turner with his brilliance through TBS and owning the team. And Bobby Cox was one of the best managers of all time, Hall of Famer. So we thought we'd bring in Bill Shanks, Atlanta Braves insider on the Out of Bounds Show. Bill, how long did you work with the Braves?
Well, I've never worked for the Braves. I've covered the team forever. I mean, I've covered them since I was in college, for that matter. But I mean,
nice.
I was first in the press box when I was a teenage sports talk show host 40 years ago. So I mean, I've just been in. I mean, I've never worked for them. I was their post-game host on their radio network for 1 year, but I've written a book about them. I did a TV show. I did a TV show with them, but I didn't work for them. But for 3 years, I did a minor league TV show called The Brave Show. We spent a lot of time in research making sure that name was correct. But we did a show for 3 years, and so I've covered them forever. Followed them forever. I've got a few years on you, so I'm not a TBS kid. I'm a WTCG kid. It goes back a little bit further.
Okay.
When they were actually on WTCG Channel 17, and we got our cable in 1978 in my hometown of Waycross, Georgia, and that happened to be the first year of Bobby Cox and Dale Murphy, so it was a pretty good year.
Man. We've had, you've been connected to these guys forever. We've had Murph on the show several times. It's like chill bumps for me. We've also had Chipper and Smoltz on, which is, and Smoltz he's probably top 5 interview of all time in 23 years. Just, I don't know if it was the day or what, but it went where you wanted to go and he was engaging and so on. But let's talk, Bobby. So when was the first time, sounds like when you were,
I don't want to hear.
Well, I've never worked for the Braves. I've covered the team forever. I mean, I've covered them since I was in college, for that matter. But I mean,
nice.
I was first in the press box when I was a teenage sports talk show host 40 years ago. So I mean, I've just been in. I mean, I've never worked for them. I was their post-game host on their radio network for 1 year, but I've written a book about them. I did a TV show. I did a TV show with them, but I didn't work for them. But for 3 years, I did a minor league TV show called The Brave Show. We spent a lot of time in research making sure that name was correct. But we did a show for 3 years, and so I've covered them forever, followed them forever. I've got a few years on you, so I'm not a TBS kid. I'm a WTCG kid. It goes back a little bit further.
Okay.
When they were actually on WTCG Channel 17, and we got our cable in 1978 in my hometown of Waycross, Georgia, and that happened to be the first year of Bobby Cox and Dale Murphy. So it was a pretty good year.
Man. We've had, you've been connected to these guys forever. We've had Murph on the show several times. It's like chill bumps for me. We've also had Chipper and Smoltz on, which is, and Smoltz he's probably top 5 interview of all time in 23 years. Just, I don't know if it was the day or what, but it went where you wanted to go, and he was engaging and so on. But let's talk, Bobby. So when was the first time? Sounds like when you were a kid or high school or what. When was the first time you met Bobby Cox?
Well, I mean, I was in the clubhouse in 1991 when they won the division. I was there a little bit in those years of '93. I was there. So as far as meeting him, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he probably recognized my face a pretty good amount in the mid '90s. And then, I did a sit down interview with him probably in 2000. Well, I did an event in 2005 with him, and then one in 2006. And then, a sit down interview for a magazine article in 2007 that he was nice enough to sit down with me. So, I mean, I've been around him a lot, and I tell you, the saddest part for me personally, just being selfish, is 3 weeks before his stroke, Bo, I was in Florida at spring training. Bobby was awful with names. Okay. he would have to be, he knew me, and sometimes he would say my name, and I've got a story on Twitter about when he really shocked me one time. But then sometimes he would know me and had no clue what my name was. He was just, I mean, he used to have to prompt him, and I'm not very good on names either. So, I mean, he just could be bad on names. But like 3 weeks before his stroke, we were in the dugout, and he said, "Come here, Bill, let's talk." And I'm like, "Oh my God," he just said my name, and I mean, he did it one time in New York, again, a story that was kind of dear to my heart, but it's like, oh man, Bobby's going to like have conversations with me and say my name and so forth. And then he had a stroke. And so it's like, daggum. But I used to hate him. I used to hate Bob. I used to have people when I started writing articles when I was a teenager in my hometown, again, for the local paper. And I would just blister Bobby Cox. I used to have people come up to me in the grocery store. "You got to lay off my man, Bobby Cox. You got to lay off him. He's not that bad. What are you doing?" And I tell you, about probably 25 years ago, I wrote a book about the Braves, and I started interviewing the players, and they started to explain what we all know about now, about how he was and how they loved him and how they revered him. And this is